Hey Jonesy Babes and Anonymous Jonesy Babes. This is part 2 of Diddy's trial. What happened Monday in court and outside the court. Sean Diddy Combs once made a male escort relieve himself in his then girlfriend Cassie's mouth. Yes. Human lemonade in her mouth. Oh, God. Cassie will tell you that she felt like she was choking when Combs made an escort relieve himself of human lemonade in her mouth. Prosecutor Emily Johnson told the jury in Manhattan federal court. Johnson described how Ventura was forced into the disgusting act as Diddy began introducing her to his freak-offs or drugged-up, days-long sex marathons with male escorts. Diddy, who is 55 years old, will call himself the king, looked on and pleasured himself while also recording the sick encounters. He then used the footage against her as collateral. Diddy threatened numerous times to release the videos of Cassie partaking in the freak-offs, keeping them as souvenirs of the most humiliating nights of her life. Cassie, who would take the stand while she's 8 months pregnant, is also expected to testify about an infamous 2016 video of Combs beating, kicking, and dragging her in the hallway of the Intercontinental Hotel in Century City, Los Angeles. This is just horrible. This is horrible. Instead of her being home, preparing for the birth of her child, being with her husband and her other children, she has to come to court and testify and relive all the things that Diddy put her through. I feel bad for her. I really do. But you know what? Her husband is there with her. He is showing her support. And that's what's going to give her the strength. That's what's going to give her the strength to make it through. You know, so I'm going to keep Cassie in my prayers because she's going to need it. Now let's talk about Jane. Jane, who started dating Combs in 2020, is slated to tell the jury about how she was expected to have sex with escorts without protection against her wishes. Combs would demand that Jane and Cassie wear lingerie, tall high heels, and white manicured nails. The days spent in hotels, they were high on drugs and dressed in costumes to perform fantasies. Jane will describe a horrific night when Combs viciously attacked her, punched her in the face while she was curled up in a ball on the ground, and slapped her so hard she fell over. After the depraved attack, Combs forced her to hide her bruises, take ecstasy, and then perform in a freak-off that same night. Another alleged victim, named as Mia, who worked for Combs as his personal assistant for several years. She would testify about being forced to perform, orals on Combs and also being raped by him. She is just beginning to deal with the times he forced himself on her. She wanted to keep the secret to her grave. Combs is accused of roping his employees into a criminal enterprise that operated for over a decade. During that time, he committed arson, kidnapping, bribery, sex crimes, and obstruction again and again, said Johnson. He is charged with racketeering, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution, and he faces up to life in prison if convicted on all of the counts. Diddy's lawyer told the jurors that Combs' accusers were all past girlfriends who took part in the freak-offs consensually. Sean Combs has a bad temper. He sometimes gets angry and jealous, the lawyer said, but he's not charged with being a jerk. He's charged with running a racketeering enterprise. We take full responsibility that there was domestic violence in this case. Domestic violence is not sex trafficking. I want to say it again. Domestic violence is not sex trafficking. Videos of the sex sessions will actually prove his innocence, his lawyer said. Prosecutors said the women were drugged and directed in order to make them look like they were enjoying themselves, all for Combs' sick pleasure. The lawyer also admitted that Combs was a complicated man who had engaged in domestic violence, but claimed that it to improve his guilt on sex trafficking charges. Whew, have mercy. This is too much. This is a lot. And this is supposed to go on, what, for 6 to 8 weeks? Okay, so let's talk about what happened outside the courthouse. At around 4 a.m., many members of network media arrived to score a spot outside 500 Pearl Street for the opening statements in Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking and racketeering trial. Fox, ABC, CBS, AP, Telemundo, and CBC were among the first networks setting up camping chairs and marking their positions in front of the Southern District of New York. Curious and passionate members of the public lined up even earlier, camping out in pop-up tents to get one of the few coveted day of spots inside the courtroom, including one ventriloquist, Jake Louis, and his smartly dressed dummy. Louis, Jake, who calls himself a comedian on Instagram, arrived early in the morning to get a seat inside with Louis. Okay, hold the phone. You mean to tell me, I don't know who Louis Jake is or Jake Louis. I don't know who he is. If you guys know, let me know in the comment section. So you mean to tell me a guy that's a comedian on Instagram that has a ventriloquist is out there and he's trying to get into the courtroom to listen to the trial with a ventriloquist? Okay. How do you guys feel about that? Let me know in the comment section. It wasn't until around 8:20 a.m. the Combs family and members of his defense team arrived. His mother Janice, dressed in all black like the Omen, walked in first, blocked from the media by a woman holding up a black binder and two men who walked beside her. She was followed by the rest of the Combs family. His son Justin, who wore a black sweater over a white Oxford button-up, while Combs' oldest, Quincy Brown, who was 33, was also dressed in all black like the Omen. But first of all, let's get something straight. Quincy Brown, he is not Diddy's child. That is Albie Shaw's son. Okay? But I'm sure you guys knew that. His 18-year-old twin daughters, Lila and Jessie. Well, her name is Delilah. They have Lila, but that's not her name. Her name is Delilah, and her other name is Jessie. And his eldest daughter, Chance Combs, 19, walked in behind them to show support for their father. Photographers were on ladders and stools for a shot, pushing into each other as the family made their way into the courthouse. The frenzy subsided once Combs' family passed through security into the courthouse. Camera crews opened up beach umbrellas to block them from the sun in preparation for a long day outside of waiting. They took up the park benches across the street, making calls, doing live on-camera stand-ups, rewatching the footage they had shot, and chatting with each other. Overall, the morning felt very business as usual, despite the high-profile nature of the case. Now, inside the courthouse, things were tense, except for accredited members of the media. Cell phones and computers were not permitted in the federal courtroom. Combs, who has been locked up for the past 8 months in MDC in Brooklyn, looked considerably older with his graying hair, arriving to sit face to face with the jury, deciding his fate against the federal charges that he led a racketeering conspiracy that engaged in SCX trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice, among other crimes. Combs did have one very vocal fan outside voicing his support, who yelled, "Sean Diddy Combs is not guilty," at various intervals throughout the day. Even with a calmer crowd, the case has attracted attention internationally, with reporters from Canada, Germany, and China, the Netherlands, and beyond traveling to cover the trial, not to mention the bloggers from across the country. This news has become viral in China, said Lin Zhang, a reporter from Shanghai Media Group. He's a very famous rapper. He has a lot of fans. It also brings up the difference between Chinese and American law. We don't have a jury system the way you do here. Jerica Duncan, an online correspondent for CBS who has covered Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, and Ghislaine Maxwell cases, called the Combs case the trial of the year. It interests people because of who he is and who he represents. Unlike some of the other people I mentioned who are of a certain age, Sean Combs feels relatively young compared to Bill Cosby or Harvey Weinstein, Duncan said. He's got 7 children, he's 55 years old, and a lot of people from this generation know him. The younger generation and even the older generation. He's always found a way to stay in the lane or, with the youth. Duncan said it was the story of someone who at one point, was successful and now has to ask permission to get a glass of water that has drawn in everyone. I think we love a success story of people going from nothing to something, but we are also interested, I don't want to say obsessed, we are just as fascinated by when the downfalls happen, Duncan said. This is someone who from music, his apparel line, his liquor brand, Revolt TV. It just seems like he was unstoppable. Duncan also noted the growing appetite for court dramas as seen in the aired trials for Gwyneth Paltrow's ski incident out of Utah, Alec Baldwin's Rust manslaughter trial in New Mexico, and mostly famously Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's battle in Virginia, aired for all to see. People love courts. They love good court TV type of stories. And this has all of the elements and all of the makings. Something that people will be interested in hearing more about throughout the world. All right, so that covers everything that I want to talk about. So I feel like I'm on track. This Diddy trial is going to be a lot. Okay, it's going to be a lot. I'm probably going to have to upload maybe several times a day, depending on what's being said. it's going to be very draining. This type of stuff is draining. So if you see that I don't post about the trial for a day or so, I'm just trying to get my energy back, okay? But I'll get back onto it, but I'm just trying to get my energy back. If you see I haven't posted about it within like 2 or 3 days. But I'm going to always be on point, okay? But anyway, talk to me in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about Diddy's trial. And I will talk to you guys later. I think I'm losing my voice because I sound kind of raspy. Do I sound raspy to you guys? Yeah, I'm going to have to drink some hot tea in the morning. But anyway, bye.